You are about to receive messages that may be harmful to your mental state. Your sense of reality will be questioned. Your view on things will be altered. You are now part of the Meta. The Meta controls everything. The Meta determines what will and will not happen. You are watching The Meta Show.
All right, well, we're live, and so you
are.
guys got to hear a brief back-channel discussion about assuming
Nothing.
that the sound is on. Can people hear?
No one heard that. They heard you say welcome. That's it.
All right.
Good with
excellent.
this shit.
So, welcome to the Meta Show. It's going to be a interesting week, I think. I missed last week, unfortunately, because of SummerSlam.
Yeah, you missed some fun last week.
So we have today, we have ApplePear, we have Gennel, we have Seto, who is now the Sky Marshal for Test, because Vili, I believe, is probably on a plane headed to Reykjavik to deal with all of the all the deer blackout nonsense and the Sino changes and the Vegas stuff and the foolishness, which we'll probably be speaking about more openly today. I'm seeing a lot of subs here.
Yes,
I gotta, unfortunately, as guys, if you hear me on the fireside, a lot of times I have, I'm sort of using my more normal kind of style of leading and talking. And when we get to the Meta Show, I usually have a little break between the fireside and the Meta Show where I go into teehee, flounce, public facade, Matani, right? That's what Scion used to call it. The whole teehee, flounce thing is be like, I don't know how you get people to underestimate you, because you just sort of go blah, 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 and then you go teehee, flounce, and then they think you're an idiot and you crush them. So bit of a context change here. I'm seeing a lot of subs here, so we're going to try to say hello to that. But we're going to be talking a lot. We have our listed topics that we're going to be talking about, but we're also going to be
the listed topics. These are just what I could find. Yeah, this is just like what I could find to actually talk about. But real quick, before we get going, Morkfang, thank you, 16 months. Scooter McCabe, 46 months. Eve San Diego, a.k.a. everyone stopped over at Eve Vegas and never left. Seisman Cat, Shokoloka, thank you. Big Red Bear, 6 months. Victor Fell, 49 months. The blackout and sound changes are bad for the community. Bad for Eve. And then we have, not our community, just theirs. Bend Over Midship, 25 months, thank you. Bard Ghost, Isu, 16 months hype, thank you very much. Avalok with 51 months. Hello, Avalok. 32 month streak on that one. Archway, 32 months. Bleezy, 19 months. Pew Stuff, 23 months. 321. Catch and joined in it, lol. John Hartley, No You Boat Man, 17 months. And Veritas Smith. Thank you, sir.
That is a lot of subs. And so I want to appreciate, and there's more to happening as well. Holy Thought, Ronnie Hugo, who actually started at the back and then scrolled back.
Yeah,
okay.
So I got, well, hold on. You didn't introduce our guests correctly. We had the Supreme Allied Commanders of logging into EVE Online, okay? They have titles now. Because I don't know about you, but I haven't got to play EVE at all this week. I've been too busy. So I gave them titles, and we also have Supreme Allied Fitting Team Man Guy Thing. Gennel hasn't been here in a very long time, so we've had Alpha here recently and CI recently, but Gennel, introduce yourself. Tell us what you do in EVE. What makes you special?
I design all the doctrines that everybody uses, since everyone steals my shit and then claims it's absolutely hilarious. I love it.
You also have a character that you use in EVE Online to play the game, and you actually play the game, not just Google spreadsheet fits. What is that character's name?
Oh, well, yeah. I'm commonly known as Mr. Frisker the Sister Fister. That's my Titan pilot. You've probably been boasting today. Take it to the dumbest place.
That's a great name. Welcome, Gennel. It's been a while. And then we also have ApplePear. ApplePear, how's it going, man?
I'm doing good. You?
I'm tired, but other than that, I'm ready. I'm excited.
I had vacation this week. I did a lot of nothing. That was good.
I had my first introduction to the school I'm going to be teaching in. Let's put it that way. Without going into too much details, it was eye-opening and it was kind of scary. But I'm excited. Let's put it that way. And then, hi, CDAO. How's it going?
What's up? Speaking of character names, the person who held the armor superfleet for the QLPX Keepstar drop was named Shayna McBangin Hips.
Pretty good.
I like that.
Shayna McBangin. So yeah, topics today before we jump into the top story.
One last thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
So one bit of levity. So during the Illume meeting today, as you guys can see, I've got these big ass headphones on, and they're like noise canceling and stuff. So if I'm amazing. Fidgeting with something, I can't hear what's going into my Yeti microphone over here. So at the start of the Illume meeting, we were like going through all this stuff that's all very serious business. And I'm fidgeting with something. I just want to show it on the camera here so people can see. So, Bo, can you actually move it back? So
no. You're showing
so,
it.
Like, this is this little bag of felt things. And I was sitting there during the Illume meeting trying to talk, and you're all going to have to suffer as my directorate had to suffer earlier because I was sitting there talking like this and just kind of fiddling with this little Ziploc bag, and it just makes a horrible fucking noise. And I did this for probably like 3 minutes before somebody said, "What the fuck is that noise?" And I realized because I don't hear it because I got these big fucking headphones on. So yeah, that's the suffering.
Okay. Well, I don't like hearing it because I like fidget spinners. They actually fidget things can help with kids, so it's fine. Go ahead, fidget away. But anyway, yes. So topics for today. These are, as a good teacher, these are things that we have on the list that gives us an hour of talking points. But I'm pretty sure we're not going to cover all of this, and we're probably going to rant quite a bit. So we're going to talk about what's even going on in EVE. We're going to talk about Classic WoW and what it means to EVE. Hint nothing, because people want to blame Classic WoW, and it's not better. Test's here. So I was going to talk about what's going on with their end of the woods or neck of the woods. We're also going to talk about balance. And some pretty ship that died for the second time in a row. And then also the G244 construction has begun. And what do I mean by the second time in a row? We'll get to that, because I'm going to leave you in suspense for about 15 minutes, because we'll talk about that at the end. So yeah, we're going to go press some buttons and talk this right here. And our top story today is not even a story. It's a continuation of 3 months of stupidity. And there's going to be some ranting, but we have the figures. Our boys in the wonderful place called Data Mining have pulled the numbers, and they're abysmal. Noisy Gamer brings great tweets. I'm going to link this tweet now before I pull up the data here. That really, really gives a stark contrast of where EVE is going. If you were to look at this, as I do, and say negative 38% in nullsec, but plus percents everywhere else, this tells me that all the bots have just moved to high sec and low sec and have left 0-0. That's what those numbers mean. Now, obviously, that's not the case, but that's what they say to me.
I think it has nothing really to do with bots in general. I mean, it's actually possible that the move to high sec and low sec is bot related, but we don't know because we don't have data on bots.
Right.
Like people, one of the things that's been so obnoxious about the discussion of the direction that EVE Online has been going in ever since the Drifter attack and then the blackout and then the Sino changes that nobody asked for that look fucking stupid, and then the announcement that CCP is not doing EVE Vegas anymore in Vegas, and so we're gonna do it. We're gonna get everybody together at EVE Vegas in a month or two, couple months, whenever it is in October, and put everybody's head together and just go back to running the event there like Goonswarm used to do before CCP took it over a few years back. But there has just been this steady drumbeat of raw idiocy coming out of CCP. And initially speaking, my stance on this was when the blackout was announced, like, hey guys, we've all talked about a blackout before. Let's wait until we have data, because we try to run an evidence-based empire over here in the Imperium. But now we have the data, and it's not just Noisy Gamer's tweet. This is something that Tuzzy has been posting, collecting data week over week, comparing the numbers of people playing the game. And even though this is something that is taking place amidst a drive with SP bonuses and all this stuff to get people to log on and play EVE, the numbers are bad. And if people are talking or saying, "Oh, it's just bots, it's just that," or whatever thing, they don't have any data to back up their argument. They just have feelings, which we don't care about. So we're now at a point where there's kind of a confidence of crisis to confidence because chaos is not something that people seem to actually want, except for a tiny, loud group of Redditors who have no data to back up their whining. So
they don't.
Shit seems kind of fucked, guys.
You weren't here last week, but even the Redditors don't want it anymore because Mr. Finland, well, I say Mr. Finland because he was in Finland when he made these comments, came out with a comment that he wants to swing the bat over at wormholes and wormhole generation and the way it's designed and basically kill off a style of gameplay that is all that's left in the PvP front page news, which is bombers rolling wormholes to then drop on anything that moves. So when you have that, now you have even our Eve going, whoa, wait a minute, hold on, back up, Hilmar. You can't go changing that now. So I'm concerned, and I'm not concerned about the direction that the game is going. I'm concerned that they're happy about it because everything I've seen this week points to, yeah, we like where this is going. We like where these little changes are showing us the kind of ISK sinks and ISK faucets that we want to see, the kind of numbers we want to see. That I don't know about you, but I don't know if that's because they have blinders on their fucking eyes and can't actually see anything, or what. But that's not what the rest of the game is happy to see. So I have no fucking.
I want to destroy this thing here in chat really quick because somebody's like, "Oh, if bots go down, then the numbers will go down," and that's a fact. People do not understand how botting works in EVE and how it is something that impacts all sectors of the EVE economy. There are courier bots. There are bots in HiSec. There was evidence of how, well, we don't know too much about how these companies work, but we do know a fair amount in public based upon the famous ISK Bank leak. So I'm going to go ahead and move us back like a decade ago. This was announced on EVE News 24 back when it was still run by Czech Lion in the dark ages when it was actually a good website. There was a Moldovan RMT operation called ISK Bank. And Noisy Gamer is going to know way more about this than me. But essentially, there was a leaked spreadsheet that showed that they were turning over about $300,000 a year through a Moldovan operation doing RMT. Now, keep in mind, guys, there's courier bots. There is HiSec mission running bots. There are all kinds of bots. And what happens in the aftermath of Blackout is not some sort of amazing all the bots are gone, guys. Some of them are still in nullsec and they simply use Myrmidons. A lot of them, as we can see, have simply shifted their operations from nullsec to where there's more profit in terms of less effort, and they'll do it courier bots, HiSec bots, lowsec bots. So there's this magical idea of the people who are holding to their hopes and their dreams that this Blackout is this amazing thing. The same people who are talking about how great the Blackout is aren't really talking about the Cynos being great, and nobody seems to like the Vegas change. So either there are some idiotic decisions being made, or this fantasy of magically the bots are all gone and that's where all the problem is. Here's another thing, guys. If the bots are all gone, why didn't you see a cliff decline in the numbers, right? Like if magically the bots are gone, they would just kind of go away. So you'd see a sharp drop off in numbers and then a steady increase after that. But you don't see that.
If the bots are all gone too, you wouldn't see climbing in HiSec and lowsec to compensate for the lack of 0-0, right? If the bots have been magically removed in magic,
well, we have seen it because
you wouldn't have that flip.
Data.
You wouldn't have that.
I just remembered this. Sorry, like we have seen actually in the history of EVE Online. I just had this idea. I just remembered this. Remember what was it? It was they had a name for it, but this was several years ago. I mean, fuck, it was probably like 5 or 6 years ago. But there was this momentary huge bot purge where they went through. It was like Wrath or something. They had some sort of name for it. I'm completely spacing on it, but fuck, somebody in chat help me out. But there was this moment. Unholy Rage. Thank you. Yeah. So we have a model of what happens when there is a mass purge of bots in the existing data that people can independently verify. So if you actually want to see what it's like when suddenly there is a massive removal of bots from the EVE player base, you compare the data from the Unholy Rage. Like, don't listen to me, guys. This affects everyone in the game, which is one of the reasons why we in the Imperium are going to be publishing the data that we have collected week over week in public on our EVE. And people can downvote it all they want, but we will push the data out and we will get as many smart smart people as we can from all walks of EVE life to compare notes about this, because this is an existential threat to all of us. There is data, and I can't believe I forgot about this. I guess it was 2009, so that's fucking 10 years ago. Jesus Christ, I'm getting old. But we know what a bot purge looks like in terms of what it does to the PCU and login numbers. We have Unholy Rage, so you compare Unholy Rage to this. Fuck, what didn't I think about that? Okay, I feel dumb now.
All right, well, here we go. Before we go into the data and go back and forth, Daniel, you're here.
As a hunter,
oh wait, what?
Bots have
What you got?
I can say as a hunter, the bots have definitely let nullsec, and if you look on the map, like the EVE map, and like average players in space, nullsec areas that used to have a lot of quote unquote bots are like now empty, and highsec is just lit up like a light.
Yeah, I mean, if you're able to make that much money, Ginnel, you go. Sorry, I've been writing.
You can go into highsec right now, and you can find entire fleets of orcas sitting on moons. We're talking 50, 60 orcas. It's hilarious. And
I can't believe I forgot about it on Holy Rage. Yeah, I mean, if that's happening, can we get some pictures of that? That would be funny.
Yeah, if we could find that, someone link one. But this is a question. This isn't just about bots. It's about a game style change. There's a great Reddit post that was posted this week by a goon, where he says the dimming light of the Cyno and the death of EVE Online. And the reason I have Genel here is because Genel is probably the most, or was at a period of time, I don't know about this week, but the most active Delve defending Titan in the Imperium. He doomsdayed. You've probably been doomsdayed by him on a gate as you traveled through Delve. It's just pretty much guaranteed you will see the Sister Fister somewhere. So, Genel, you as someone who uses Titans on a regular basis, what do you think about this change going forward for you as someone who uses them all the time?
Does nothing. Actually makes everything that I do safer, because the one thing I fear is failing the bosun, one of them lighting a Cyno, because literally every single ship inside of that fleet has a Cyno, and 25 dreads coming through. Because right now, in the year of our Lord 2019, you put 50 dreads on a Titan, there is no amount of faxes that can save it.
It's the
You have to-
DPS rates. It's whoever
You
can
have
kill
to
the
bring
most Titans.
fleets.
Yeah.
The thing also, we saw the Vanquisher kill earlier, and what we saw this week with the Vanquisher kill, what you saw, there was an Hector who pointed the Vanquisher and lit the Cyno. And what are Hectors used for? They point them, and the Titan couldn't jump the gate because it was sitting on a gate and tried to get out, but Hick point prevents that. Now, you cannot hunt with your Hector anymore or try to catch it and light a Cyno. Now you have to have a recon with a very squeezy ship, or jump a Black Ops ship in there and light a Cyno with it and try to kill a Titan. So it's much harder to hunt for it, hold a Titan in place,
so much better.
and light a Cyno.
When you light a Cyno, your ship is forced to come to a complete and dead stop, right? So when you fit a Titan, you tend to get a little bit of scan res put onto it, because you like to put the sensor boosters, and use capital guns. Capital guns hit for excesses of 80 to 120,000 damage per shot. I'm going to one-shot that recon.
Yeah, I didn't even think of this. We've been talking about these changes, and I didn't even think of how good that is for a Titan with even a Ragnarok with the Arty, right? You're just going to volley it off the field if you lock quick enough, especially with all those extra mids, compared to before, where everyone in that fleet, every single ship from the bombers and all that, could just pop a Cyno. So that could be a big deal with that change. For the
One of the things that really just bothers me about the fucking Cyno chain is compared to Blackout, right? Like, Blackout is something, one of the reasons why the Imperium did not come out swinging against Blackout, like, the reason why I didn't shit all over it right when it happened, even though I had shat all over the Drifter thing, because that was dumb, was we needed to see what would happen in the data. And Blackout is something, and I've said this repeatedly on the Meta Show, and I've said this repeatedly on Firesides, ever since the Blackout was first hinted at happening, was this is something that we have been talking about in EVE Online ever since Wormhole Space was entered. Like, the idea of doing a Blackout, even if I'm saying it might now be killing the game because we have data that indicates that, but it kind of had to be tried, right? But it was something that was part of the mainstream discussion about things you could do to improve EVE Online, right? It didn't come out of nowhere. It's something people have debated for years. This Cyno shit was like, there have been discussions about changes to Cynos, don't get me wrong, talking about spin-up timers, spool-down timers, just a hard limit on how often you can activate a Cyno. This is, a lot of these debates happen within the CSM and discussions at a number of player events with CCP. The precursor to the Cyno debate was happening right around the time that Space AIDS was a problem with Slowcat fleets teleporting across the galaxy. So there is a lot of thought has been put into things you could change about Cynos in EVE Online, kind of like how there's been a lot of discussion about the blackout long before it was implemented. And the fucked up thing about the situation here, and I think one of the reasons why there's a crisis of confidence about the leadership of EVE Online right now, is the fact that this Cyno change is completely outside of the mainstream of the discussion. Like, I never even heard of this kind of proposal before. Like, it was just like out of fucking nowhere. It's stupid. It seems like they just kind of were like, what? Did some random guy at an EVE meet tell Hilmar, like, hey, well, here's my random wacky idea, and then he just went ahead and said, well, I guess this might increase more chaos, and just do it. It's fucking dumb. It's just stupid. It's not something that the player base has discussed, and that's creepy. And then you layer on top of that oh yeah, we're not going to do Vegas. Vegas got to the point where Vegas was bigger than FanFest. Vegas was getting more people to go to Vegas for EVE Online than going to Iceland for a couple of years in a row. And now they're like, oh, well, players don't want to do that. So you combine the Cyno change from out of nowhere. You get that. You see the numbers going. It's just stupid and bad and creepy, because that's not good for any of us, regardless of where we play in EVE Online. If you're a high sec or a low sec player, do you really want all these bots from nullsec moving into high sec and low sec? And oh wait, now because of the people that are saying the blackout is good, you can't say, hey guys, we've got a problem with bots in high sec and low sec, because in theory the bots are all gone and everything's fine, and you're just whining about it because these people are not looking at the data. Not that I'm mad about it or anything.
But I mean, look, I can't speak to how the game is going as far as personal experience, because I've been playing. But we have Apple Pair here for that reason. Apple Pair is one of our FCs. He's been very active lately, and he's been playing the game quite a bit. And I want to ask Apple Pair, where you see the game right now from an FC's perspective, having to play the
game? Fleets are smaller, you notice, so less people are playing the game. Today, not completely Euro high time, but pretty close to prime Euro. We had a fleet with less than 150 people in fleet, and that got pinged out because I don't think the people were there or felt like logging in and playing the game. That's what you notice. You notice there are less people we can shoot, and yeah, there is just the testing is there that we can go to and sometimes go towards, but for the rest, and you see it also in the data that Nosy Gamer shows, there's 38% less people in general in nullsec, ratting, and etc. At least red shut down, and in Delve there's more. So where do we go to shoot people and hunt them? Because everybody is coming here.
If you really want to be scared, if you really want to look at the freaky thing about this, understanding now with the data that Noisy Gamer has, and again, if I'm wrong, this is the kind of thing I want to be wrong about, guys. So like if Omeka Gold dives into the data and is actually able to provide data that contradicts what Noisy Gamer, who's not actually affiliated with the Imperium anyway, and what our guys can come up, if the evidence shows that this is actually good in any way, I would love to see that evidence, as opposed to people just talking about their emotions and their hopes for things. Oh, it's just this. Oh, it's just that. To be fair, we have a limited data set, but it's just like in the Incarnate Crisis. This is freaky because the numbers and the data that we have currently are, you actually would expect to see the drop be a lot less of a drop, because they're running all these fucking skill point promotions. Like the fact that this is happening in an environment where CCP is just handing out skill points to people. The other one, of course, is the back to school argument. Everybody's always like, oh, summer slump, back to school, all that shit. The median age of the player base as of 2010 or 2011, when I was on the CSM, time as a blur, I forget, was 37 years old. That was a decade ago.
Falcon put out a questionnaire. how old are you when you're playing this game? The median age is 35 to 42.
Yeah, that was a
over
questionnaire.
30%
I'm
of the
talking
player
about
base is that.
internal statistics that I was shown that are not NDA from the time, because NDAs expire after 5 years, that particular one. So when I was on the CSM, CCB's internals, they told us 37 was the median age. That was a decade ago. So the entire every year you see people talking about like, oh, it's back to school, whatever. Like, the fuck.
I don't want to go pause what you're thinking there, but he makes a good point. Noisy Gamer says the increase in high sec and low sec in my tweet is probably due to skill point promotion more than bots, because a lot of people, like my accounts, all are in high sec right now with skill clones, and I'm just logging them in for skill points.
So that would explain drop in NPC kills and nullsec is fucking freaky. I mean, Delve is like, again, when there's more threats, like complex societies do better. The Imperium is the most complex society in EVE, so like we're seeing an uptick while the rest of nullsec is down 40%. But that's fucking freaky.
And that's the thing that's even freakier is you look at groups like Test, who are pretty organized and probably still playing the game on some level. You have PanFam's group still playing the game, but outside that, if you take out those two groups, I wonder what the numbers would be. Would it be 60, 70, 80% less? Like, I don't...
What completely is... Sorry. What's there also, Delve goes up, but Delve is in... most of Delve is in direct range of NPC Delve, of NPC space, where enemies can freely get their dreads and all those kind of things. But if the rest is 38% down... we, as an Imperium, if we want to hit our friends of PanFam, we have to go through a regional gate with our dreads and then jump a second time to get our dreads on a target. Or if we want to hunt things, we have to jump through a regional gate pretty much to get there and double jump. So it is for us a lot more work to be able to shoot our enemies. And even then, with that ability, that those numbers in those regions are going much more down, you would expect that is a much safer region, especially if it has their own protection and umbrella like we have. But we are the region that goes up, and the rest goes down. Then I find that very scary, and we sometimes jokingly say in certain channels like, oh, what would it be fun if we're not hunting PanFam, but we're hunting the Imperium? How many kills would we get then? It's just scary how that goes, and yeah, that makes it a bit sad.
The whole thing, and I said this in chat a couple of minutes ago, and I want to point out here that the Imperium, I said this on the Fireside, so everybody who was there is going to hear this again. I might have even said this earlier. We try to run an evidence-based empire. Like most of what we do, if you look, is Scion, Kumitomo, and I are huge, like Cyrus the Great fanboys, and we basically stole a bunch of the shit we do from the Achaemenid Empire in terms of having a diverse cultural group and blah, 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 and not micromanaging people in the coalition. That doesn't really matter. What matters here is this. Data is very important to us, right? So when people are presenting spreadsheets that are showing actual data points that can be verifiable, that have been pulled from like EVE Offline or PCU numbers or what have you, and then people say, oh, well, it's just bots. Like one side has data and the other doesn't. But if like collectively, like this matters to all of us, and like the Vegas thing is fucking freaky, because I did not expect to have to be saying like, hey guys, don't worry, we will get into the convention running business again the other day, right? Like that was like out of nowhere, like shit's bad, why is this even happening kind of scenario. So every week, this is what you guys can expect. If you agree with me that this is bad, or if you disagree with me and you think that everything is fine, every week we will be publishing our data findings week over week to try to find out what's really going on in the ground truth. Because CCP is not going to tell us the actual ground truth. They're going to tell us everything is fine and everything's wonderful. Even as we can see, the data is not good. If you disagree with us, look for that data and hit us back with more data. Like we will probably try to be putting together a working group of interested parties. Like if Tuzzy hopefully is going to be tied to Noisy Gamer, who is not a part of the Imperium, and anybody else who's interested in this, we need the facts on the ground, because this is something that concerns all of us. If you study complex societies and things like that, the Imperium is the most like we're the last domino to fall. Like if it gets to the point where like things are actually bad for the Imperium, everybody else is so beyond fucked. It's not even funny. Like it's a dead game by that point. But yeah, data, please. And Tuzzy has. Okay, yeah, good.
I mean,
so work together and let's find out what's happening.
If it ever gets to that point, I mean, let's be honest. See, now I'm not blue to you. You're not blue to me. We could just shoot each other. You know. A lot of people don't understand this. A lot of outsiders to the Imperium do not get this. They feel, well, maybe you guys should just all reset each other and not be so giant and big, and then you wouldn't be complaining about things.
A few days ago.
Yeah, I saw that. That was funny. But we'll go to that in a second. But people say, oh, that's the case. Well, if you didn't have such a big blue list, you would have to go the other half of you to shoot people. That's not the case. Right? People who are friends with each other are going to live next to each other. They're not going to shoot each other. I mean, we shoot tests once in a while. They shoot us once in a while. But it still means we have to travel the other side of the Eve because all of our enemies just happen to live on the other side of fucking Eve. It's kind of the way it is. I mean, when Drift... I like the word like this. When CCP fucks with the sandbox, it's kind of hard to go to war with people when there's so much shit being, like, fingers in the sandbox manipulating how it works. It's kind of a pain in the ass. But see now, I gotta ask. We're gonna move forward here because while I enjoy a good rant, I have to ask. One of your members in test apparently made this, and it's the part of the New Eden Cook-Off, and it's titled The Capsuleer. And this is hilarious. The ingredients for this are it's 1 egg, 1 egg raw. 1 kilogram of coarse salt, and an optional lemon. Optional pairings.
What a terrible
pairings. Optional pairings. Pure ethanol or bottom shelf vodka.
Yeah, it is pretty good.
If this guy doesn't win, I'm going to be disappointed. But moving on. We want to talk Eve, because that's why we're here. And some interesting stuff is going on in the South. And so I'm going to press a button, and we're going to go on, and then I'll come back to something else I wanted to talk about near the end here. So we're going to press that button. Yes, I will be increasing CDAO's volume 1 second. I actually had turned him down for a moment. CDAO, you guys just did something yesterday that was kind of like, what the hell did they just do? And I got a nice reply from Elo. So what happened yesterday? What happened yesterday today that was part of your war that hasn't happened?
Can I know Elo's reply first?
Okay, well, I'll read Elo's reply.
I want to know Elo's reply. Right?
I'll read this out loud. Elo says in his grandiose reply, the enemy has launched a Keepstar in QLPX Western Deterid, which is a result defeats. I'm trying to translate this here. We have had slowly in the area. It is strategic level 3, which allows them to have a Sino chamber.
They sent out yesterday?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's basically all right. So I'll just take it from here. So So the war in the South has been going on for about 3 months. The second round, I'd say, the war in the South, when Billy sort of came back and had spare time for work, he took over Marshall for a little bit, and we redid how we did things. And we've been just slowly making progress because that's all you can do if the enemy plays defensive properly, aka not the North, but the South. Basically, it's just been Tosis war back and forth. Fights over citadels very rarely happen. If anything, it's in legacy space when they try to drop a structure, and we'll fight it because we usually don't want to take a fight in China Prime under their Sino Jammer for a structure we don't really give two dicks about. So QOPX was a iHub we took. I think we have 5 in Deteroid now, 4 or 5. 5 after 2 days ago. But about 4 weeks ago, 4 or 5 weeks ago, I was able to FC and take the QOPX iHub. It was just another one on the list, and we've held it for about 3 weeks now. About 3 or 4 weeks ago, Vili has been getting really busy with IRL and CSM stuff, so he asked me to take over Sky Marshal, which I have done. He's on his way to Reykjavik now for that. But
So QOPX, it's been 4 weeks since we took it. We got Strat Index 3. The day before we hit Strat Index 3, we fought hard for the FE Tech iHub. I know Goons were there. We were there. They jumped. They basically there could have been a chance for the next UALX to happen there. However, as soon as we jumped our Titans and Supers in, when they jumped their regular super carriers in, they'd never jumped the Titans in to follow. So the fight never really happened. We took the FE Tech 6 iHub, and at the same time, Vili had been camping their midpoint system with a Hictor and was able to grab a Titan, which he did not realize was a Vanquisher until it was already dead. So he pointed it with the Hick, signed it in the dreads. They didn't even counter response it, because if they counter responded to save it, it would have been another Titan fight. So they lost another Vanquisher. It was the same guy, and the Vanquisher was named "Try to Kill Me This Time" Test. So that was another good grab. So the day after the day of the Vanquisher kill and the FE Tech iHub's take, when we took that iHub, me and Vili were back and forth in PMs, because we've been talking about doing something like this for a while. But we just said, fuck it, we'll do it today. And so we moved to Keepstar up, dropped it around 2100, 2200, and it fully online yesterday. They didn't contest it at all. And it's just further into Dedoroid. The QOPX's new staging. We're in capital range of their staging now. Yesterday, as QOPX was onlining, we literally jumped dreads into their staging to kill one of their hells that was being an idiot.
And it made me a bit sad yesterday, because I hoped they would contest so we could fight, because I was like, ready to take a fleet out there and just shoot them, but they decided not to do anything.
There used to be like a DMZ, like a in between, because how far the stagings you'd have to mid to get to. But now with QOPX, we're in direct range of their staging. They're in direct range of ours. It opens up a lot of options for us, and I can guarantee, especially with the plans I have for this coming weeks, it's going to be a little hectic down south coming up. We'll see how they respond to what I want to do, but I don't know. I think it's going to get a little hectic down here, especially with staging in range of each other and the sino changes, because Fraternity only really rats and mines and about 10 systems and a Dedoroid/Innsmother pipe. That's literally just a pipe that crosses the regions. And with the sino changes, you can just nab a super carrier kill that can't light a sino to get facts to it if you do it properly, very easily.
You put 150 bombers on a super carrier, and it's just dead.
Well, if I formed 150 guys, they're just gonna red light, because that's what they do whenever I ping a Goku fleet nowadays. So, now it's just if I can get 10 guys in dreads, we're good. 10 guys in dreads and a few sabers, and we're good.
It's actually
maybe you should explain that red lighting a bit, because they have a system when you can red and etc. How does that work? Because I heard something.
So before the war, the NIP was over, I'd been doing Goku fleets like a maniac, because it's my favorite fleet to fly, and it's if done properly, it could be very deadly. And my main target had been Frat, like late U.S. time zone, and so they implemented a thing called red light, green light, for the Chinese side of Fraternity and the English side of Fraternity, where they ping out in that channel, okay, it's green to rat right now. You're green to Rokomine and Super Rat right now. You're red. You can't do anything right now. And so what happens traditionally, and almost every time now, I had hit them so hard with Goku fleet. I think I'd killed upwards of like 600 bill in a couple weeks, to where they implemented that. And now every time I ping a Goku fleet, or if we ping any fleet that could possibly even go kill a Rokel, they'll red light. And now they pretty much have a standard green area to where they crab. So if anyone wants to go take shots at supers and Rokels, go to Dedoroid between 0300 to about 14 or 1300. That is the only time they are really permanently green or red and say, hey, you can make money here and then. Because any other time zone, like I remember I'd get home from class, it'd be about 1600, 1500. They'd be about to red light, and I'd set up just form a fleet really quickly. Flash form, super tackled, everyone, mutants just go, and we'd dunk a few supers. So they moved it all the way back to 1300, 1400. That's how they keep their crabs safe. They literally tell them, okay, no, you cannot Roko mine for this time. You can only do it this time. So if you have a moon coming out, sorry, you're gonna have to wait.
I do want to point this out. I got this dropped in my lap a little bit ago. Regarding that Keepstar, it says Recon, which is the PvP arm of the bot alliance. Mash Rage paying for the run up to the Keepstar timer, big CTA, red pen. There were 6 hours of wake up, log in, getting fleet, where the hell is everyone kind of pings over and over and over, including from people in DICE, wondering where the hell everyone was. They went one jump after forming up, said, well done, we won, boys, and then stood their fleet down.
I'm honestly surprised it didn't do anything. Like, even if you didn't go after the keeps, you just bring a whole bunch of hacks in and try and farm fleets. Could have actually made something up.
Oh, they could have done a lot of things. So that leads us to what next now? You got to keep Star down. I'll be honest. I'm gonna link this here because you all like to read what Elo says. This is way too long for me to talk about. Apparently, all of the Imperium was planning on coming with Legacy and Fire, so I don't know where the hell he gets his numbers from, but he said there was apparently 3,000 people expected. But the single best piece from this, if you want to go and read it yourself, and you can, is as I was reading it yesterday, I read it like they were moving to Wicked Creek, because I forgot that they were Winter Coalition. So there's like one part in this that I'm reading along, and it's like, let's see here. Let's see if I can find this. You guys can find this funny. We've all struggled to live in WC, but I think it's the best place to be living right now. And we will continue to do the best we can. And I read that as like they've moved to Wicked Creek and the war's over. But no, it's just Elo trying to spin things.
You should, if you like want to just look at, if you get a fraternity spy and look at the announcement pings, oh my god, the amount of just spin and just like encouragement on the guys. Like, I get encouraging your guys, but like, oh my god, like there's been multiple times where it's just been like, yeah, guys, they did this and this and this, and we're gonna do this and this and this, and whatever he says never really happened or never did happen. I mean, I guess you got to spin to the line numbers, but I mean, and I get him doing it. It's just he does it excessively, in my opinion.
Oh.
And sometimes just tell straight lies. There have been a couple of times where I'll see a ping and just be like, well, we never did that. I don't know what he's talking about.
I mean, that is kind of a balance. Like, the Imperium has lost wars before, and it's very important when you're trying to be positive that you don't lie to your troops, because, EVE players are smart. They will, kind of like this blackout situation, people will look at the data and figure out what actually happened, and it creates kind of a corrosive culture if you are lying to your dudes. And people accuse me of spinning all the time, which I think just means I'm very persuasive and good at it. But the reality is that if you just straight up lie to people, I believe the stuff that comes out of my mouth. You guys might think I'm crazy because I believe the stuff that comes out of my mouth. But when I'm saying something, usually I'm persuasive because I drink my own Kool-Aid, right? Like, I'm not going to sell our guys on a bill of goods that I myself don't believe in.
There's a term for that. It's a pathological liar. You can believe your own lies so well.
It's true.
I say this because my brother is diagnosed with it. Actually has a medical condition where while he was with his psychologist, he was able to convince the psychologist and the psychiatrist that what he's saying was true, and it really wasn't at the time. So yeah, it's a thing. It actually exists, and a lot of people use it. Yeah,
or Lyndon B. Johnson, or that's the thing. So I mean, that's the thing. Sales, you convince yourself of what the product that you're selling. I guess I don't know, but like if you're doing it in like a caveat, like you're just lying to people in ways that the evidence contradicts. It's a bad impact on your alliance. Yeah, I know a lot more about your brother now than I realized. That's a big admission. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, he I don't hide this fact, I guess, but he is diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia, and you say this is shock, but it's never. I'd say in the last 10 years, I mean, he has 3 kids, and it's never something that's caused a problem. But have you ever seen the movie, the math movie, where the guy was like a doctor?
Beautiful Mind.
Yes, Beautiful Mind. That's my brother. Like that happens to him. Like sometimes he has a friend he talks to, and he's valid and aware of it, and takes medicine for it. Never had a problem other than that. Like, it's just one of those things you talk about. But you see that in the way a lot of people play this game. The reason I can pick up on things like that is they'll say things, and you're like, how the fuck do they believe what they're saying? Like, and then you realize, oh, maybe he really does believe the bullshit that he's spewing out of his mouth. So So yeah, it happens.
The human mind is it's one of the dangers. That's one of the reasons why I prefer to look at evidence when it comes to
Yeah, I like people rather
we
than
can
feelings.
people can lie to themselves. I've lied to myself about so much shit over the years. It's not even funny. So you got to be hedging. That's one of the reasons. Like, so there's this argument that's going on in chat of people like going back and forth with Omega Gold. One of the reasons why we made the decision to come out today and speak openly about the Directorate's concerns regarding the direction that CCP is going in is sort of far beyond just the blackout stuff, right? Like the blackout stuff looks bad. The Sino change, that's freaky. That's not something that's like blackout related. And then on top of it, the icing on the cake is just the Vegas thing is so freaky. So like, once you have these data points and put them together in a pattern with some of the things we know about the Pearl Abyss buyout deal, it paints a freaky picture that is far beyond these kind of disputes about one aspect of the blackout versus one aspect of the Sino change. You put it all together and then you top it off with Vegas. Yeah.
I'll be honest. Go ahead.
Sorry, I'm thinking like that there's so many things with that how do you call it, chaos time, etc. But if they really want to do chaos and then do things that people takes care of chaos and people ask years for, like adding NPC null to every region, or at least enter in range of every region in Delve. Do things about the carriers, etc. that are a bit overpowered with the support fighters or those kind of things. There are many things where a lot of people ask for what really would be solutions and also add chaos to the game. Then do stupid things when nobody asks for and like, what the fuck?
Well, you don't have to keep going after the same thing with the stick. You keep going after nullsec wormholes with the stick, just continuously nerfing things. People will nothing about it. You go after it in different ways. You make new ships in the game. You give people new interesting tools.
More sand in the sandbox. Actually, that's a really good point. So a couple of things here. First of all, we've gone into Cool Kids only mode, which is subscribers mode. We might go a little bit long today because there's a lot to talk about and shit's fucked sideways. Couple different points. One, what Ginnel just brought up is how did CCP get out of the Incarnate crisis, where they lost like half of the subscribers of the game, more like 40%. But there was riots in Jeddah. It was the laughing stock of the gaming industry, and people were wondering whether EVE was going to cease to exist. The way that they got out of it is they they basically said, look, guys, we fucked up finally once they admitted it and looked at the numbers. And they, CCP Unifex, John Lander, who is, I think, one of the best executive producers that EVE Online has ever had, took over. And I believe it was the Retribution expansion. I forget the name of it, but they introduced the new destroyers they added in, or it wasn't new battlecruisers. I forget. It was a long fucking time ago. They added new ships. It was Inferno, that's right.
The best expansion they'd ever put out. They spent the entire time just fixing problems and putting new things in the game, and they had the highest PSU they'd ever had after that.
They committed to the product, and that is a challenge that CCP has had in the past, where I compare them to Digital Extremes a lot. If you are a single product company that you live or die by your one product, you can either try to diversify and get other products so you have other revenue streams, or you can just commit fully to the product. CCP in the hubris days, when they went all the way up to like 600 employees and a bunch of different offices, were constantly siphoning the revenue that they got from EVE Online and investing it in other games that all never went anywhere. All failures, instead of reinvesting in EVE. And so what they did to get out of Incarna was they had kind of a come to Jesus moment where they realized shit was fucked. And then they reinvested in EVE and actually listened to the player base and added more spaceships and more tools and made things cool and good. And because the player base wants to play EVE players want to play EVE online. People came rushing back because they could see that CCP was like, shit, guys, we're sorry. There was like an apology letter that was posted under Hilmar's name, even though I think Tony Gonzalez authored it, and a whole bunch of other stupid crap. But basically, like, they unfucked it, they admitted they'd screwed things up, and they put more sand in the sandbox. And I think, so there is a path to victory. Yeah. I want to answer another question later, but I'll let other people talk before you.
This EVE Vegas thing is not gonna be anything. I'll tell you from my experience of the 2 times I've went. The only time I went to do CCP related things was because a bunch of people I wanted to speak to happened to be in that area at the time. Yeah, we got a bunch of cool like lanyards and like little free stuff here and there. And yeah, the party with the free drinks was cool because, again, it gave me an opportunity to socialize with people. But to be quite honest, in the 4 days I went last year, I spent all 4 with goons and other people that I like talking to. It just so happened the catalyst to get all those people to show up was Vegas. I'm pretty sure those people are going to still show up anyway because Vegas is cool. So I don't understand CCP's feeling of this, you know?
Well, yeah, it's so freaky. Like I actually made a point of buying the ticket to Eve Vegas last year because I had skipped officially buying the ticket for a couple of years. I literally forgot to go pick up my badge and I guess I would probably have had a marshal, the codes or whatever, but I just didn't bother picking up my badge or anything. One of the questions that was asked here in Cool Kids mode earlier, from I think his name was Fues, was basically why do we think that these guys are focused at Crucible? Sorry, Carneris has it right. It wasn't Inferno, it was Crucible. Crucible was the name of the expansion we were talking about earlier, where they unfuck things. So I believe it was, Fues was asking, why is CCP giving so much attention to people who are crying on Reddit? We've seen this as a challenge with other game companies, and we saw this with Sony Online Entertainment, where instead of focusing on their internal forums and platforms that they controlled to collect feedback or feedback mechanisms like the fucking CSM, the echo chamber aspect of a subreddit is very appealing because depending upon if you agree with whatever is happening there, people are brigading Reddit all the time, and it's an echo chamber. And one of the things about Iceland that people need to understand about CCP as a company is that Iceland itself is kind of an echo chamber. When you have an entire society of people who are living on a rock in the North Atlantic surrounded by fart water, you know how people talk about like Midwest nice and like the passive aggressiveness that happens in the American Midwest? It's sort of a very similar society, Scandinavian culture, but also on an island. So you combine small town with on an island, and being able to get along is very important, which means consensus politics and also kind of avoiding yelling and screaming at each other. So that also has created these environments in the past that we, as the player base, like during the Incarnate Crisis and other events, have had to deal with because there is not a culture of uncomfortable truth-telling within CCP. And that comes from the top. That is a scenario where it is very easy for CCP to sniff their own farts, to drink their own Kool-Aid, and to end up in a situation where publishing a dev blog referring to $1,000 designer jeans is a good idea. And that's what happened during the Incarnate Crisis, right before the riots kicked off. So,
The thing about this, though, is outside of a major push or consensus by the 0 blocks or the wormhole blocks or whoever's being affected by these changes, I don't know if you'll see that level of CCP giving a fuck. Like, I don't think. Let me say this like this. Sorry, let me rephrase that a little bit. Until October, until bonus time, you're not going to see a change in the mentality of CCP until after that. I think after that, you may see a very sharp change. I doubt. I mean, some people, I think Genel even pointed out at one point to me, you'll never hear CCP say they made a mistake and that they were wrong. But I have a feeling that until October, this shit's going to get even more stupid. And then October rolls
The biggest thing was a complete blindside for me. I am shocked that they announced that or they made that decision. Like, it's just.
Well, think about who runs those trips.
That's what shifted me into being concerned. Is the Vegas thing tipped it from, well, let's see the data, to, oh my god, what the fuck is going on over there?
Yeah, I could go to Vegas, but I'm technically not old enough to enter any of the bars. So I was looking forward to when I do to actually enter. Yeah, dude.
I always thought you were like in your 30s. Jeez, you sound so much older than you are. That's crazy.
No, I'm young. I'm technically not old enough to go into any of the bars. I'd been looking forward to when I do hit that age to go to Vegas and actually be able to enjoy that.
Well, we will still have Eve Vegas in 2020. It just might be managed by a consortium of volunteers, people from the Imperium who are already, a lot of them do volunteering, and the community as a whole. This thing existed before CCP ran it, and it will continue to exist. We are not giving that up. The Imperium, Pandemic Legion runs their own events. The Imperium runs their own events. And so essentially what we're going to do as a planning session for this upcoming Vegas in just a couple months, we're going to get everybody together and basically make an org to make sure that this continues, because this is not going to stop. There will be a fucking Vegas party, because what the fuck is wrong with these people? Of course there's going to be a fucking Vegas party. Are you kidding me? Like, what the hell? Like, seriously, guys.
Nobody's really, I mean, I'm going to be brutally honest here. San Diego may look great and all, but it ain't bigger than Vegas. I think the best quote I saw
San
was
Diego is a shit party town. It's
No,
cool
yeah, like-
if you have a yacht and strippers and stuff like that, but like that's just you always have a party if there's a yacht and strippers. Like it doesn't matter where it is. But like San Diego itself downtown is really expensive. It's not a party town, and ugh.
Yeah, the thing is, maybe this is my bad opinion, but the joke that someone made is everyone was driving to San Diego from the East Coast and just happened to stop in Vegas and never leave. I'm sorry, you're not going to get that kind of hip hip hooray going to San Diego, because when you're not doing the Eve stuff, that one thing, like, I'll be honest, the Eve stuff I did, I went and watched one thing each day. And it just so happened that was because it was a friend of mine doing something and I wanted to see him talk or her talk. And that's what I went there to do, to socialize. Other than that, there's a lot of cool shit to do in Vegas. There ain't a lot of cool shit to do in San Diego to take up that meantime. You know?
Yeah, I wanna make it very clear for people who are watching this, because I saw a comment here from who was it? Jorax, who is Jorax 3, who was saying thinking about wanting to join the Imperium. Again, Zapplework was the CEO of Goonswarm many years ago that really sort of made eVegas into a thing long before CCP ran it. It was originally an event put on by the Goonswarm Directorate for the entire community, not just for Goons. This was pre-Imperium. And CCP took it over 3 or 4 years later after Zapplework kind of like lost interest in it. It was already like a thing. This is in the days when we were doing it in Paris. So when I went to Twitter and I said the Imperium is still going to be partying in Vegas, don't worry. This is a much bigger issue. All of the things that I'm talking about here in terms of like the Vegas thing, the blackout stuff, the Sino nonsense, all this creepy shit is bigger than any one coalition. So whatever we do in Vegas for 2020 is going to be for everyone. It will not just be an Imperium thing. So don't sweat it. You do not have to join the Imperium just to come to Vegas in 2020. We're going to get everybody together in a couple months when we're at Vegas 2019. We're going to get all the adults in the room and we're going to figure this shit out for the greater good.
I mean, let's speak logistically here. Carneros brings up a great point. There are better hotels in Vegas. There are better flight selections to get to Vegas. It's a lot less people wanting to go to San Diego every year than they are wanting to go to Vegas. I mean, don't get me wrong. I like San Diego Chargers, even though they just moved to Los Angeles. God damn it. But I like San Diego, but it's not Vegas. I mean, there's so much more that brings Vegas. It'd be like taking a party to Iowa when you just had a party on a beach in Miami. It's just they're two different worlds.
Like, if they had said, it would still be weird if they said we're going to do it in like Seattle or something. But like Seattle is like a destination city. San Diego is a place that you go if you're rich enough to live there and you want to have like a quiet, like upper middle class kind of lifestyle or whatever. Like it's a lot of places. Like Poway where like elephants go to die.
And like to move on to something else after this, even TwitchCon happens at San Diego, and very few cons happen at San Diego because it's not that big of an venue.
Yeah, I think they moved it away from San Diego. I went to a TwitchCon at San Diego, and so I know like the San Diego con experience downtown. This was Fox 2017.
Apparently.
Steve Aoki throwing cake, and they had Darude playing Sandstorm and whatever. But that downtown convention area is like, my ex-wife once went to, like, we went out there for like a American Political Science Association, like academic conventions. Yeah. Great university system out in San Diego and stuff like that. So it's really geared towards academics, business people, or whatever. You don't go on a rager in like the gas lamp. Like you can, I guess, go on a crawl in the gas lamp or whatever, but like it ain't Vegas. It ain't a party town.
There's nobody doing that in San Diego, right? So, but let's
the Vegas shit scares me, guys. Like the Vegas shit scares me. Like we can argue and let's look at the data about the blackout stuff, but like the fact that they made this decision to abandon an event that was bigger than FanFest out of nowhere and move it to fucking San Diego basically just made me go, what the fuck is even happening? Like this, if this is chaos, if getting rid of Vegas is chaos, well, then maybe it's about time for some fucking order. God damn it. And we will ensure that there is order. And that order includes partying in Vegas the way that we have for years. because this shit is just stupid. I don't care. Omeka can argue in the comments about the effect of like the blackout stuff, but the Vegas stuff, there is no excuse for it. Business wise, community concern, any of it. It's just like, what the hell is going on? So if CCP will not provide order, then we will make order, and we will ensure that the community can still get together and make friends beyond just the Imperium. So don't worry about it, guys.
I like it. I
We'll
like
do what
it.
we can.
Yeah. So
but I don't know much about places, etc. But maybe is San Diego cheaper for them as
No.
to organize it?
no.
I don't
San
know.
Diego is like one of the most expensive cities in the United States. It
Why?
is like, it's rich people territory, like
Yeah.
La Jolla and San Diego and all. Like, seriously,
there-
like it's basically
you
like
moved there when you got
Manhattan in
perfect weather
California.
year-round.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's paradise. It's fucking paradise. It's beautiful, but it's not really. If you want to party, you go across the border to TJ, right? Like you don't
You go to
fucking
Tijuana,
do
yeah,
that shit. Yeah. So
Yeah, that's
Vegas is
Tijuana's real
literally
close to
built
there,
for parties and conventions, so it's pretty cheap.
Yeah, and everything is next to each other. It's on a strip. That's why they call it the strip. Like everything's right there. If you want to go next door and go see a show at Circus, it's right down the fucking street. Like you don't have to go anywhere. That's the problem with San Diego. You're gonna have to do a little traveling. Your hotel's not gonna be next to where you're partying. You're not gonna be staying
yeah,
in the
if
hotel
you
where
want to
you're
go
partying.
clubbing in San Diego, you're getting in an Uber to go. Like, believe me, I've gone clubbing in San Diego. There was a pretty good thing. A place called Numbers has like a goth industrial night when it's not a gay club, and they do like a once a month thing. They have a Sabat de Sade out there, and so we checked out the scene. We sort of like looked for places to go partying there, but it's a kind of like Los Angeles, is that you really need a car to get around, and things are kind of distributed and designed for people to drive around. There is a downtown district for conventions, but the downtown convention district is very like pinkies up, business professionals, academics. It's not a place you go on ragers. Nobody goes, hey, who got robbed by horrors in San Diego, right? And that's a question every year
nice
at Vegas
place,
is
but-
who got robbed by hookers, and that's part of the fun.
Yeah, it's part of the fun. Or whose party room got raided because they were too wild in
the
Vegas.
party room, right? Yeah, exactly. Bid Lawn almost set their party on fire because the Old People Alliance in the CFC at the time was the one that partied harder than everybody else, right? Like there's so many epic stories from stupid shit that happens in Vegas that that's just like, I don't know, if they said that instead of getting together in Reykjavik, we're going to get together and go to like Idaho for fan fest.
Right, that's what I mean. That's like I said. That's the difference between a beach party in Miami and going to the middle of Podunk, Iowa. Like, no.
Juris Nero here is saying that Austin would be better than San Diego. Austin would be better. Seattle would be better. I mean, Denver would be a great town because you could smoke mad weed there. Denver's actually just a great fucking party town. I love
New York
Denver.
City would be fucking great. Because you can do it in a hotel convention center and not a lot of... It's not
The
like they're
fucking thing
having...
is that the cost of New York City is extremely expensive, but then again, so is San Diego.
So is Reykjavik, Iceland, too, when you think about it. Comparatively. But let's move on for a second, because I want to talk about a new age of EVE Online. And before you go, okay, in the age of chaos, how's there a new age of EVE Online? You just brought up California. In California, in the last 20 years, there has been a lot of foreign Chinese-born college students that come into California that their parents are extremely wealthy. And I don't mean, a couple of $1 million wealthy. I mean, these kids are rolling around in Lamborghinis, going to college classes at UFC. So why does this get brought up in a topic of EVE Online? Well, EVE Online's got an influx of Chinese players, with the two biggest factions of Serenity coming to EVE Online. You are also bringing to EVE Online pocketbooks. Deep fucking pocketbooks. This Vanquisher kill that we talked about very briefly a little bit ago is an example of a very fucking deep pocketbook. And what do I mean by that? It's his second loss of a Vanquisher in less than 6 months. And
Apparently
he lost an
the
Alliance
guy-
tournament ship worth $300 billion just recently.
Apparently, that guy, what he was bragging about when we killed him on the fraternity Discord, he's like, "Oh yeah, don't worry guys, I'm in the Navy. I make a crap ton of money. I'm just gonna buy Plex and buy another one." And he had another Vanquisher the day after.
Yeah, so someone did the math on this, and they posted it to me. He literally would have to have dropped over $60,000 in the last 6 months to play the play style in just those 3 ships. because he bought the one ship for 200 billion and then the 2 Vanquishers. And he
I'm
thought
not
it was no big
complaining.
deal. Yeah, look, I'm not complaining. Email. Those are great kill mails for Tess.
He
Congratulations,
was
Tess.
the only
Especially,
he was the only one to take that Titan midpoint because they told him to stop midding. He's like, no, I want to catch up. So he jumped the Titan midpoint like an idiot.
I want to point out that you did use my strategy of fleet warping people once you invite them to fleet. Thank you for that.
Hey,
Yeah,
you can
I'm very
thank Preds
appreciative.
for that, man. Preds, we have an Astra off their stage in Keepstar.
I know.
Golly, man. They get so
But-
much free kills off.
But I do want to bring out that this brings a very important topic to the game of EVE Online. In China, RMT was allowed, injecting money into the game was allowed if you had a deep pocketbook, they didn't care, legally or illegally. And now you have a lot of influx Chinese players. We've talked about before how Norris's pocketbook is very deep. We've talked before about several notable Chinese players who fund alliance level dread caches because they have deep pocketbooks, and this is another example of it. And I wouldn't be surprised if you start to see more of that come to the game, and that's a good thing for the game because I like killing those big ass ships because a lot of those guys with deep pocketbooks don't know what the fuck they're doing, and they're gonna throw their ships out there pretty crazily.
There
I
was
don't-
one point where their SRP was hurting so much because they just weren't making the money to SRP how many fleets they were losing, and the hacks, and like losing 60 bill in hacks a day in Munin versus Munin fights where we can afford it. There's a point where some of our fraternity spy tunes weren't getting SRP for a good 3 months or so. And then Norris came back and said, "Hey, don't worry, guys. SRP solved. We just got a donation of ISK from a guy." And I'm just in the back of my head thinking, someone pulled out the credit card.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, this isn't. I want to give some historical perspective
It's
on
not
this.
new to the
because
game.
One of the things that concerns me is whenever we're talking about, there are these Chinese rich people or something like that. It's not specific to Chinese players.
Oh no, yeah, no.
Think about it. The Russian aluminum tycoon, the infamous Sir Lord X, right?
Sir Lord
there are
X,
lots of
yep.
people who will radically do this. White Noise, originally, before they invaded the Northern Coalition, the old Northern Coalition, was that Titan fleet that White Noise had, that Seahose was the autocrat of White Noise, was funded by out-of-game money. And, that's actually, I think, good for the game. A fool and his money
Yeah.
are rapidly parted because these guys will buy a bunch of Plex. It injects hard currency into EVE, which would be nice if CCP invested that in EVE Online rather than some random bullshit.
Another
or
venture
making sure
for
that we
him.
have events in Vegas or whatever. But, that's not new. Right, like it happens. People who are rich can have a disproportionate impact. If
Oh,
they
yeah,
whip
no,
out the
no.
credit card and do that. But it does
Or-
make some spectacular kill.
Where
moves.
I'm going with this, and I don't have a link for you guys. I will next week. It's just too fresh and too hot to link. And we do have Discord logs and chats, and it may be on Reddit now. So I do apologize. If it is on Reddit, someone can link this. Please do it. But there have been leaks coming out of Fraternity related to this guy and his Vanquisher that RMT is involved, in the sense that not RMT. A lot of people know that you can buy Plex, then that Plex turns into injectors and money, and that's how a lot of people get their funds to play the game. The guys that have a real life job don't mind spending $100 a month on a video game like EVE. Fine, no big deal. But when you do it the wrong way, as Sir Lordex did one time, and you buy $60,000 worth of in-game properties without doing it the legit way, it can lead to problems. And so what happened is there was a leak of this particular group in their high command Discord, and I'm trying to find the link if someone else can find it, where they literally just said, "Hey, we lost a Vanquisher. Don't worry, we have enough bots that we'll get it back within a short amount of time." So it leads you to that question of, okay, is it a guy with deep pocketbooks, or is he not doing it legitimately? And so that's a question with a lot of cultural shifts. And I'm not saying it's bad or good. Don't get me wrong here. I think it's good for the game when deep pocketbooks spend on the game. I like whales in video games because
As long as
I'm
they're
the
going through Plex. That's the
Right.
thing. When they fuel the RMT engine, that's when it's a problem.
right. If
Because
they're
we all
doing it
benefit
through
when people
Plex,
buy
yeah.
Plex.
Yeah, guys, I sell Plex, right? Or not Plex. I sell skill injectors, and those guys that come in and buy 1,000 skill injectors, great for me. Get yourself 3 or 4 Titans, because I sell 40 skill injectors a month. But when it's done in the wrong way, because maybe they just don't know there is a right way, right? A lot of them coming from Serenity might not know that, because Serenity, you're allowed to RMT. You're allowed to do that. It's not policed. So then they come here on Tranquility, and they continue to do the Serenity way. And maybe they do it on purpose or not on purpose. They just don't know better. I like to give people the benefit of the doubt. Sorry.
I mean, I have to, you went in a direction that I have to just formally and publicly disagree with, which is
go ahead.
The assumption that people coming from Serenity don't know any better. That I think is kind of problematic. We have a lot of Chinese players on EVE Online who came from Serenity and have been a member of Goonswarm Federation and PLA for a long ass time. And there's never any, like they don't know any better. Like they're fucking EVE players. They're playing the hardest and most competitive game in the world. Like they know what's up. This soft condescension of like, oh, well, these Chinese players are coming over here from Serenity is problematic. And I disagree with it.
Oh, okay. I'm not trying to say it in a negative way like that. Hold on. I see what you're saying.
I know it's the soft condescension is what is problematic. Like the giving them the benefit of the doubt because they're
see what you mean.
Players, but they're Chinese and they're coming over from Serenity. Like we have hundreds of Chinese players that have been loyal members of Goonswarm Federation for fucking years. They're all EVE players. We dealt with this a lot during the Great War because we were allied with the Russians, and a lot of the same problematic things that people said about Russian players I'm seeing now being deployed towards people on Serenity. There's always going to be somebody who's going to be RMTing. They hopefully will get banned. I think it's good that people are injecting real money into the economy the illegal way by buying Plex. But let's not go into any, like Serenity players are, they just don't know any better, because that's just as bad as saying, these guys, what are they doing? Like they're different from us because they're Chinese. So
okay, no, I'm not trying to go there. So okay, hold on, pause for a second. No, someone just said.
I just wanted to clarify.
I'm clarifying this right now. Botting RMT is allowed on Serenity. So in the initial transition, they'll probably go, "Oh, I could just do what I do on Serenity," and then someone tells them, "No, you can't do that here. It's different here." So that's where I'm going with that. Hold on.
It wasn't even really allowed on Serenity. It's just the company that operated this didn't give a shit. Like they didn't want to put the dollar bills into paying GMs to look through bot reports.
Oh, okay. Well, then that makes even better sense. But
anyway, I didn't mean to make things all weird, but it gets to that point where
I get
the Russians and people can mean well, but there you go. I'm glad you did.
All right, trying to clear. Okay, and then one last thing, because we do have to go here. Where did I put it? Somebody, forget what company this is. I want to link this real quick. Now we don't have to talk about it if you don't want to. But it was interesting that an article came out in, I think, the BBC that says if you're an EVE Online player, you already basically have an MBA. This is a great read. I thought it was kind of comical. And it says, how playing video games can get you a better job. And it talks about how people have used their experience in video games, examples of spreadsheets, examples of other things that they've created and molded and done. Even app developers in EVE who have said, look, here's this app I made. Here's how it runs. It runs so smooth. Thousands of people use it to get a better job. And so this is what this article talks about. I think it's really cool. I'll be honest. I think it's really neat that they talk about how gaming skills are relevant to real life, like business.
Gaming is now so huge. Like I was kind of surprised when I watched Patriot Act the other day, the Hassan Minhaj thing on Netflix, where he did a whole special about the changes in the video games industry. So I suggest everybody check it out. Really cool stuff on that episode. And I was unaware that the games industry was now bigger than like music, Hollywood, and professional sports all combined in terms of revenue. So one of the things, certainly within EVE, like I've learned shitloads of things about what I do all day in EVE, which is basically manage organizations or create organizations or do all that kind of stuff. And those skills are absolutely transferable. And I've watched lots of goons hook each other up with jobs in the real world. So I think it's cool that the BBC is talking about it, because I think that, if you are able to succeed as a player in like one of the hardest and most competitive games in the world, which is EVE Online, then there's a lot of transferable skills from a lot of areas of EVE, like maybe not being a hardcore like PvPer like pilot, but I'm sure that in terms of like leadership, in terms of learning how to analyze how to fit a ship, which is really fucking complicated, like maybe your piloting skills won't transfer over, but the ability to learn how to pilot and a whole bunch of other things does transfer to other things. So I think it's a reasonable argument. We've seen evidence of it in the real world, and high fives all around.
Okay, so we're about to leave here. Someone just finally found that link for me. This is the link from the Frat Ranger Regiment controlled forum, where I believe Norris, Elo were talking about this, or someone's friend of theirs was talking about it. But anyways, there's leaks, links, and all that, and there's also a couple other threads that involve it. It's translated. Apparently, it's translated very well. So if you want to look at that, there's the link for that. And yeah, we're already 17 minutes over. I did want to ask though before we go. Why is Ember Prime the greatest Warframe and Warframe? And why are we all not playing this?
What are you talking about? I have no clue.
He just triggered Gentle on me.
Okay.
And then finally, in classic WoW, why is no one playing Priest, and why should they be?
The only thing I remember from WoW is that I played it for 3 months when it got introduced, and then was bored with it and stopped with it. And like EVE is the only game, I wouldn't call it a game, that I have now been playing for 4 years, 5 years, something like that, and has kept me interesting. And most other things, after 2-3 months, I'm fed up with it and go do something else. So, yeah.
I'm a Saren Prime fan, by the way. I just wanted to make a joke because I heard Mittens that you hate Ember, so that's why I was.
I don't actually hate Ember. I just think Ember sucks because Ember sucks.
Yeah.
Like, it's just a.
But we're out of time.
We are. Well, thanks for coming, guys. I know we went 20 minutes over. I want to thank our guests for sticking with. It is a difficult time and a difficult topic. But yeah, let's. I think that there is going to be a working group of people from who are interested in data, probably put together. If you are a big data person and you want to help out, reach out to Tuzzy. I've gotten some pings from several people already about this. So we want to find out what the ground truth is in the game, especially now that we've remembered the whole Unholy Rage thing. So we can try to basically do some mathematical what the fuck ever. I don't understand any of this shit to basically compare the Unholy Rage data to the data we have today to deal with the nonsense of people going, oh, it's just bots, even though we have no data for it. Well, now we have data to compare against of a similar argument and show it's dumb. So keep the faith, guys. Don't worry about Vegas in 2020. We will bring order, God damn it. And we will also see you next week.
Yeah, I'll see you next week. I have a very, very busy week. This week, school starts Tuesday. I'm excited. Kids teaching. So we'll be going into that. But we will have a show on Saturday, and it'll be amazing. It'll be amazing. So see you guys.
You are about to receive messages that may be harmful to your mental state. Your sense of reality will be questioned. Your view on things will be altered. You are now part of the meta. The meta controls everything. The meta determines what will and will not happen. You are watching The Meta Show.